Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making these cute little sheep. They are what I consider a no-sew body pattern, which means we're going to start by making the arms and the legs. Then we're going to move on to the top of the head, work our way down, add the arms, do the body, add the eyes, add the legs, stuff and clothes. And then we will have to sew on the muzzle, the ears, any embroidering that we decide to do. And then I'll start you off on the wool once we're done the body and let you to do that on your own. And before we get started, I just want to let you know that there's going to be 5 stitches of wool for every stitch in the head. So make sure you have lots of this color before you get going. For this video, I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you will also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we are going to begin with the arm, and you can start any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making a knot with a loop on the end as if I was making a chain, and I'll do that slowly for this one. So I fold my yarn in half, grab that point, wrap it around my finger to make a knot, and I'm going to bring that loop down, around, and through. I pinch that loop, and then I just slide that knot up so that I have a loop that is just a little bit bigger than my hook. Then you're going to insert your hook into that loop, grab your yarn and pull through, and then you're going to chain 1. And remember, that doesn't count as a stitch. That's just attaching your yarn to your loop. And for row 1, going over top of your tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're going to pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that pattern all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 5, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 6, 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 7, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12, and you're welcome to do invisible decreases. I just prefer not to because they're not as easy for me. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 decrease for 2, and repeat that around, 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, and our last decrease for 12. Row 8, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 8. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 decrease for 2, single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, and our last decrease for 8. Rows 9 to 18, we are just going to do 8 single crochets all the way around, and I'm going to do those consecutively. So that's 10 rows of 8. 10 times 8 is 80. So I'm going to do 80 single crochets and then flip my marker every time I hit a set of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I flip my marker and keep on counting. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. And then now we can take our hook out, get rid of our stitch marker, because we're going to add some stuffing, so get that ready. Okie dokie. So I'm just going to grab about as much as I think I'm going to need for two. Split it in half and then put the one to the side for when I have my other arm done. And I'm going to split that in half again, and I'm going to stick that down into the rounded part of my arm. And you may need to use something to help you get that down there. I just used the end of my scissors. Get it all the way down and just kind of push it around to make a kind of ball shape. Then I'm going to take about half of what I have left, depending on how much you think you need. And I'm just going to put that down into the bottom again. Now when you're doing this, you want to be careful not to open up your stitches, so don't overstuff. That might be a little bit too much. I can see a few of the stitches opening. I'm just going to scooch it up a bit. And then put the last of your stuffing evenly down the arm. You don't want this part to be too full because you want it to be able to kind of wrap around the body. So I just have a little bit in there, just enough to say that there's stuffing in there. And then once you're happy with how much stuffing you have in, we are just going to fold that in half. And we are going to go into the next stitch of the arm. And then we're also going to go into the last stitch of the arm. So it's going to look like this. And we're going to do 3 single crochets across. So 1. Make sure you're getting through both the front and the back. 2. This one doesn't want to go through that easily. There we go. 3. And then you can just tie that off. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail. Even though I don't sew the arms on, I do something at the end to kind of make them a little more secure. So if you have just finished your first arm, I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second arm. And if you are finished your second arm, just keep on watching and we'll move on to the next part. All right, now we are going to start on the leg. And again, you can begin any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end as if I was making a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, this does not count as a stitch. It's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull your tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase, 5 and 6, increase, 7 and 8, increase, 9 and 10, and our last increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1, increase, 2 and 3. Repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 single crochet, whoops, catching my stitch marker there. 1 single crochet for 1, another single crochet for 2, and an increase, 3 and 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 6, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 7, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3. And remember, you can always do invisible ones if you prefer. So repeat that. 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, 8, decrease for 9, 10, 11, decrease for 12, 13, 14, decrease for 15, 16, 17, and our last decrease for 18. Row 9, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1 and a decrease for 2. Repeat that around. 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, and our last decrease for 12. Rows 10 to 18 are going to be 12 single crochets all the way around, and again I'm going to do those consecutively. So that's 9 rows of 12. 9 times 12 is 108, so I'm going to do 108 single crochets and then flip my marker every time I hit a set of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, flipping my marker, but keep on counting. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 97, 98, 99, 100. Now I'm switching back to ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now we can take our hook out, or take our stitch marker out. Grab your stuffing. And again, I'm taking about as much as I think I'm going to need for 2, so it's quite a firm handful. Put one aside for the second leg and then work on your other leg that you have done. Always begin by splitting it in half. And we're going to get that down into the bottom of the foot. And I'm making mine round, so again, I'm just going to kind of tuck that into all the corners around, using my hand kind of to keep the bottom a bit flat. Grab my other half of stuffing. And again, remember, don't overstuff. If you start seeing the stitches split or stretch, you've got enough in there. So I've got this fairly firm around the foot, and I'm just going to stick a little bit down into the top of the leg. And as I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I'm not right at the top. So I want to have at least the bottom or the top 2 rows with no stuffing. So my stuffing ends just about where those two, I know it's hard in the white, but so it's pretty much right here where I have no stuffing. And that's just so when he sits, his leg will go like this in a triangle shape, so his little belly can kind of stick out and won't want to always flip back on it. And if you're happy with how much stuffing you have, we're going to close this up. And just like we did the arm, you're going to go in the next stitch on the front, the last stitch in the back, and we're going to do 5 single crochets across. 1, make sure you're through both sides. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to tie that off. I don't do much with these tails, but do leave a little bit of a tail because I do tie them on the inside after we attach them. Okay, if you've just finished your first leg, I will be putting a screenshot in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second leg. And if you're finished your second leg, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, now we're going to start at the top of the head. And I didn't realize how close these colors were going to look, but this is actually my beige color for the wool. So you're going to want the wool color right now. I was using white earlier, and this is kind of an off-white. So again, you can begin any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end, as if I was making a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Now for every row that we are making that we're going to be putting the wool fur on, we're going to be going in the back loops. So I'm just going to give you a quick idea of what you want to do. So generally you go down under both V's when you're doing your crochet. So this time we're going to come over top of that first part of the V. We're going to go down in between the V, and we're going to catch this back loop. And the point of that is we're leaving all these front loops so we can go back and put all our wool into these loops in the front. Okay, so let's grab our stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 6 increases in the back loops of every stitch all the way around. So come down in between your V, catch that back loop, increase 1 and 2. In the back loop, increase again, 3 and 4. In the back loop, increase again, 5 and 6. In that back loop, increase, 7 and 8. In that back loop, 9 and 10. And then in our last back loop, another increase, 11 and 12. And I don't know if this is hard to see, but see this, these are your front loops now. So you want to see that in every row. I believe I go to about row 7-ish. Row 3, in the back loops, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So in the back loop, 1 single crochet, in the back loop, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and continue around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, in the back loops, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 in the back loop, 2 in the back loop, and an increase in the back loop, 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, in the back loops, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1 single crochet in the back loop, 2 single crochet in the back loop, 3 single crochets in the back loop, and an increase in the back loop, 4 and 5. And repeat that all the way around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30. Row 6, we are going to do in the back loops 4 single crochets and 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. So 1 single crochet in the back loop, 2 single crochets in the back loop, 3 single crochets in the back loop, 4 single crochets in the back loop, and an increase in the back loop for 5 and 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and our last increase, 35 and 36. Row 7 in the back loops, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. So 1 in the back loop, 2 in the back loop, 3 in the back loop, 4 in the back loop, 5 in the back loop, and an increase in the back loop, 6 and 7. And repeat that around. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, I lost count, 26, and an increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, increase, 34, and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, whoops, still 40, increase, 41, and 42. And on our 42nd one, we are going to just leave those 2 loops on our hook because we're going to change our color now. So now you're going to grab the body color, which generally I'm going to say is going to be your arm, leg, ears, head color. I'm going to give that a cut, leave enough for tying. Grab your new color. So I'm putting my white on now. And let's see if you can actually tell they're different. So what I'm going to do is I'm just tying my old color and my new color nice and tight, as close to the hook as I can get it. 2 or 3 times. And then you're just going to grab that new color and you're going to pull it through those last 2 loops of the last stitch of your previous row. All right, row 8, we're going to do a 42 single crochets all the way around in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Okay, now we are going to be going in the regular way. No more back loops. So we're going to be going regular under both sides of that V. So row 9, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 10, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 11, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 12, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 13, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 14, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 15, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease. 4, 6, and repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease. 4, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and a decrease. For 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease. For 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease. For 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and a decrease. For 36. Row 16, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease. For 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease. For 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease. For 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease. For 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease. For 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 17, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Row 18, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1, 2, decrease for 3, and repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and on our last decrease, we are just going to go in and pull up all of our loops and leave those on our hook, because now we're going to change back to our wool color. So I'm going to give that a little cut. Make sure you leave enough to tie. So now grab your new color and you're going to tie it to your old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to grab that new color and pull it through those 3 loops to finish off that last decrease, to finish off the previous row. All right, and now we're going to be going in the back loops again for all the wool areas. So pretty much until we get to the legs, we're going to be going in the back loops again. So now for row 19, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around in the back loops. So remember, down in between the V's and out the back, just catching that one back loop. 1. I'm shadowing this somehow. I don't know why. 2. 3. 4. this is better. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Sorry, I didn't show that very well, but okay, now we are going to do the arm row. So grab your arms and get them ready. And I'm going to change my camera view. Hopefully we can see a little bit better after that. Okie dokie. Now remember, we're still in the back loops. For row 20, we're going to start with 3 single crochets in the back loop. So 1, 2, 3. Now grab your first arm, and remembering that our back is on this side, we want our arms and the strings to be facing the front of our head. And we're going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and through the head in the back loop. So into the arm, into the back loop of the next stitch. That's 1. Into the arm. Back loop of the next stitch, that's 2, into the arm, into the back loop of the next stitch, that's 3. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets across in the back loops, and make sure you're in the next stitch because it's very easy to go in the same one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now grab your other arm, and again, remembering that this is the back, this is the front. We want our strings facing to the front. And 3 single crochets through the arm and the back loop of the next stitch. That's 1, through the arm, through the back loop of the next stitch, that's 2, through the arm, and through the back loop of the next stitch. And now we should have 3 single crochets left in the back loops. 1, 2, and 3. So now we should look like this. All right, row 21 in the back loops, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So in the back loop, 1, in the back loop, 2, and in the back loop, an increase for 3 and 4. And then repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8. And as you're coming around these strings, make sure they stay on the outside because that's where we'll need them for later. 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and an increase, 23 and 24. Row 22 in the back loops, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 23 in the back loops, we are going to do 3 single crochets and 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1 in the back loop, 2 in the back loop, 3 in the back loop, and an increase in the back loop for 4 and 5. And repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30. Row 24, we are going to do 30 single crochets in the back loop all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 25, we are going to be doing 4 single crochets, 1 increase in the back loops for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5, and 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and an increase, 35 and 36. Okay, we are going to put the eyes in now, so grab those and get them ready. All right, so what we want to do is flatten out our little guy. I use my arms as my center. Then I'm going to grab my darning needle. And what we want to do is count down to be between rows 10 and 11. So you want to find your first starting loop. That's your row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So right there in between rows 10 and 11. And that's just to find your row. So now we're going to make sure we're in our center. And I actually think I'm pretty darn close. So I might just move it over a tiny little bit. Let's just check from our arms here. So I think that's it. So right here and right here are our centers. And it is pretty darn close. And I'm just going to make sure it's in a stitch instead of in a hole. So right there, I have a hole on each side. And I'm just in the stitch in between. Then we're going to grab one of our eyes. We're going to go to our pin. And then we're going to go over to our first hole and count over 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to go in that 4th hole. And same thing on the other side. We have our pin and our stitch. So there's our hole right beside. 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that 4th hole. And then just have another quick look, because sometimes they look different once they're on. I think that looks pretty good to me. So if you're happy with where your eyes are, I'm going to show you a way to help you out. A lot of people complain that I wait too long to put on my eyes. So if you have a hard time doing your eyes when you're this far in, what you're going to do is put your thumb on the eye, push that in and up through the neck hole. I'm not, see, I'm not putting any pressure on there. Just gently right there. You can see where it is. And then grab your back and you'll just squeeze that on. And then do the same thing on the other side. Thumb on the eye and just gently push it up towards the neck. And then put your back on. There we go. We might as well add some stuffing now too to the head before we get too far. So what you're going to want to do is kind of brace it around the neck so you don't stretch your neck stitches. And we're just going to put it up. Start by tucking it up into the top of the head. You want to have it fairly firm. When I make my patterns, I'm mostly shaping with my stuffing and not my stitches. So the firmer it is without stretching your stitches, the better in the head anyways. And just kind of go around, make sure you're kind of feeling around for the pockets where there's some space, and then that's where you'll be pushing your stuffing in. And kind of make sure you're keeping it nice and round. I think I'm getting close here. I can see the stitches are starting to stretch a little bit, so I want to be careful here. Doesn't matter so much if you have a light color and light stuffing, but if you have a dark color, you really notice when those stitches stretch. Okay, so that should be good for me. All right, let's get our hook back in now. And if you're ever unsure about where your loop should be, like say you have it twisted up, if you just pull, you want that top string to be sliding without any interference from the other string. All right. Row 26, we are going to do a 36 single crochets in the back loops all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 27 in the back loops, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 28 in the back loops, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 29 in the back loops, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Row 30 in the back loops, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 31 in the back loops, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5, and repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, sorry, 16 again, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 32 in the back loops, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. All right, the next row is our leg row, so grab those and get them ready. So row 33 in the back loops, we are going to start off with 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that should put you pretty even with your arm, with your arm here. Now you're going to grab your first leg, and it doesn't really matter which way they go because they're the same, but I'm just going to do them how I would do them if they had toes or whatever, and that would just mean my strings are facing to that way. If you for some reason are doing it the other way, you want the string on the inside. So now we need to do 5 single crochets through the leg and through the body, just like we did the arms, and make sure you're staying in the front loops. So I went through the leg, through the front loop of the body, that's 1, through the leg, or sorry, the back loop of the body, that's 2, through the leg, through the back loop of the body, that's 3, through the leg, through the back loop of the body, that's 4, and through the leg and the back loop of the body. And then we're just going to put our string to the inside. And now we are going to do 2 single crochets across, and make sure you're in the right stitch because it's super easy to go in the same one. So 1 in the back loop, 2 in the back loop. Oh, come on. And then grab your other leg, and I'm just keeping it pointing the same way as the other so my strings are facing that way. Again, it doesn't matter for this one. And 5 single crochets through the leg and through the back loop of the body. So 1 through the leg, through the back loop of the body, that's 2 through the leg, through the back loop of the body, that's 3 through the leg, through the back loop of the body, that's 4 through the leg, and through the back loop of the body. And again, you are going to put that string to the inside, and then we should have 4 stitches left to finish off the row for a total of 24. So in the back loop, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, let's tie our legs up too here. So all you're going to do is grab your 2 ends and tie them together nice and loosely across the inside of your guy, because you don't want to tie them tight or your legs are going to want to come in and crisscross. So a nice loose knot just against the inside, and then tie it a couple of times, going a little bit tighter as you go so you feel like that's secure. And then you can trim off those ends. Okay, let's add a little bit of stuffing now. We only have 3 rows left. And you can, you don't need to add quite as much stuffing in the bottom as you did the head. You just want to be able to keep its shape and make sure that it'll sit. So I'm just going to add that much for now. And then I'll add a little bit more at the end. Okay, let's get your hook back in. Row 34, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3. And repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Whoop. Still 18. All right, so we only have 2 rows left. I'm going to stuff and close mine. But if you want to save yourself the nightmare of doing these first couple of rows, adding the wool, you can leave this open and close it when you're done adding all the wool to your body and head. I think so. When you do end up finishing stuffing, you want to make sure the body's nice and full and round, and then the bottom is nice and flat so that he'll sit. Okay. Row 35, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. So 1 decrease for 2, 3, decrease, whoops, that's the same stitch, still my decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, decrease for 12. And row 36, we are just going to do 6 decreases all the way around. So decrease for 1, decrease for 2, decrease for 3, decrease for 4, decrease for 5, decrease for 6. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch and tie that off. And if you're still undecided on whether you want to close this up or not, you can stop right here and not close it, so it's easy to back off a couple of rows to remove your stuffing. Okay, so let's grab our darning needle. And actually, I'm going to take my stitch marker out too. If you didn't finish off, leave your stitch marker in so you know what row you're on and where to start. And then all you're going to do is go in the top loops of your last row all the way around. And like I always say, if you are using plush yarn and it breaks really easy on you, try doing 3 stitches, pulling it tight, and then finishing off in your last 2 or 3 stitches. So we'll pull that tight. Then I'm just going to tie my knot in the next stitch. And hide that inside. Give it a cut. And let's put these arm strings in now. So you're just going to thread one of your tails. It doesn't matter which one because both will be done the same way. And then you're going to find your last stitch where you added your arm, and that's where your little knot should be. And you're just going to go in that hole right in that same stitch and come out the back center of the neck. Then you're going to put your other tail on. Same thing, find that last stitch where you added your arm and your knot's right there. You're just going to go right in that stitch and then come out in the same hole that your other string came through. And now you're going to tie this one time, keeping track of your ends. So it'll be just like this. You're going to wrap them around the neck. Flip your little man over. And now we're going to pull them tight so that these arms and knots kind of go to the inside and forward a little bit. Sometimes one goes better than the other, and you can just pull each string individually, but be very careful not to break your string. And then, whoop, some results. Then we'll just tie that tight to secure it. And rethread those ends on and hide them on the inside. Whoop. So back in that same hole and then just out the back somewhere. Okay, now we're going to do the muzzle. So whatever your head, arms, and body color are is the color that I'm going to be using. And this time we're going to be starting with a chain and leave yourself a bit of a tail. And I'm just going to make my knot with the loop on the end. You can do yours however you generally begin with a chain. Insert my hook, and we are going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you should look like that. Row 1, we are going to start with 1 single crochet on the end, beginning in the second chain from the hook. So 1 single crochet. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets in the end and kind of pivot around so we end up on this back side. So 1 single crochet in the end, turn a little bit. 2 single crochets in the end, turn a little bit, 3 single crochets in the end. And now we're going to do 3 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets on this end in the same stitch. So 1, 2. So it should look like this. This was your starting chain, and you've gone all the way around. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to start with 1 increase on this end. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to do 3 increases around this end. So increase, that's 1, increase, that's 2, and I'm turning as I'm going, increase, that's 3, and now I'm on the other side. We're going to do 3 single crochets across, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do 2 increases around this end. So increase, that's 1, increase, that's 2. So now it should look like this. Row 3, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 4, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 5, 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then just slip stitch into the next stitch and tie that off, leaving yourself enough of a tail to sew this on. And what I do is when it's doubled, I just wrap it around once, and then I know I have more than enough, and then give it a little cut. Take my stitch marker out. So I almost forgot a little tip that I was just told about to kind of close up these holes when you go around a chain. This one's not too bad, but sometimes they're quite open. The tail that we started with when we made our chain, we're just going to put that on our hook, or sorry, our needle. And there's probably a lot of different ways you can do this. For right now, just to be quicker, I'm just going to weave in and out just to put a little piece of thread there. But you could probably go around or catch each of the stitches at the start. So So see, that does close it up, but it's a bit of a mess. So I would play around with that, but it's a great idea. And I thank you for offering that little tip to me. And then I'm just gonna grab a piece on the back side and tie that so I can secure it. And then we'll add some stuffing into that little muzzle piece. And you want just enough that it's going to be full, but it's not going to overlap out the top. So you want it to be flat against where you put it to the face. So it'll be just like this. So when we put that on, that is not sticking over the edges. Okay, grab your guy and get your pins. Whoop. And I'm going to start by positioning my muzzle with my string to this side. That's just a preference for the direction that I sew. And we're just going to position that at the bottom of the eyes. So this is where we inserted our eyes, and I'm one row down. So if you're using the same eyes as me, it'll be just at the bottom of the eyes. Make sure that your chaining line is nice and straight and that it is even on both sides. And then you're just going to start pinning. And what I like to do is pin 3 times in the very top. Just to keep that nice and straight. And then I'm going to come down into the bottom side, and I don't have a specific row that I go to. It's just wherever it falls naturally. And I'm going to put 3 pins on the bottom. I'm probably about 1 or 2 rows up from the neck if you're wondering. Have a quick little look to double check that it's still centered where you want it. And if you're happy with it, you're going to start pinning around. And I like to start by doing 1 on each side, and then I put in the rest. And I'm just kind of lining that with the outside of my eye. And if you pay attention to markers like that, it will help you keep it even. And now I'm just going to come around in every stitch or every other stitch. The more pins you use, the less chance there is that it is going to move around on you. Maybe a couple more. Sorry, I hope you can see this. I'm kind of not watching the video camera. Alright, double check before you sew that your line is straight, you're even on both sides. And then we'll thread that on. This might be tricky to see because it's white, but oh yeah, I need my elastic. So here's another little thing I learned because I flipped my guy around upside down as I'm sewing him on. If you have an elastic, or you could even use scrap yarn, just tie those arms down and they'll stay out of your way as you're going around. So to start, you are going to go down right where your knot is, kind of underneath the muzzle a little bit. So just a bit underneath, go around a row and come up. Then you are going to go into the next stitch. You're going to go down the next stitch, around a piece of the row in the head. Make sure you're staying under the muzzle. It doesn't matter a lot that you do that when you got the same colors going, but if you had, say, a brown nose and a white head, you don't want to see the brown yarn that you're sewing on. Can't tell which one. Yeah, I went in that one. So I'm coming back up. Yeah. Always make a mess when I'm doing this part. Down through the next stitch, around a row in the head. Make sure you're always catching some. Sometimes it's not easy. Back up the next stitch. I'm even having a hard time seeing the white on the white here. Down the next stitch, around a row in the head, and you just keep going around like that. It's going to be very tempting to go down, around, and up your next stitch, but if you do it this way, it will help keep your muzzle from moving around because you're not pushing and pulling as much. And I'm always just double checking that things are staying straight. And if you notice, I keep my thumb on the nose a little bit just to control how I'm putting my needle in and out. And then when I get to the top, I want to make sure that I'm going in that line here all the way across into my stitches, and that will help you keep it nice and straight. That is where I usually mess up if I wasn't putting them all in that nice straight line. Because at least if the top is straight, if the rest gets crooked somewhere, you're not going to notice it as much. And while I'm doing this part, I'm just going to remind you that I do have a craft page on Facebook if you'd like to ever share anything that you've made with me. The link is down in the description. You'll just go under the video, click more. You'll have to click it twice to open up everything that's in there. Oops, sorry about that. All right. I'm still just going around. If you need to add more stuffing, you can add it now. I have about 3 stitches left. And you can just pick up your last needle out. You'll just kind of poke that stuffing into the hole. And then continue on. So I'm just right here. So I'm just going down and around. And then we're almost at our knot where we started. It's right there. When I get there, I go down and then I go around past my knot so I can come up into this stitch here and go around. Just because when you crochet in the round, the stitches are just a tad offset. And then if you go around, you can pull the 2 stitches nice and tight and straight. So I'm going back and around again, and then I'm just going to come out somewhere down here so that I can tie it. And see how that just kind of made this nice and straight here instead of a little lopsided. Then I'm just going to tie onto one of my stitches down here. There's one. So I'm not in the head and I'm not in the muzzle. I'm in one of my stitches that I sewed. don't know why I'm having such a time tying a knot. There we go. And then just stick that in and out the back somewhere. And then we'll give that a cut. All right, take your elastic off if you added one. And now we're gonna bring the eyes in. So grab a scrap of whatever color you used for the middle of the head. And we're just gonna thread that on. And you're just gonna come down in the center between the eyes somewhere. And you're gonna come out right in the center front. Close to the eyes you can get it. If you didn't use safety eyes and you're making your own, you can do the same thing. You just aren't going to go around the eye. You're going to come out the stitch and down in the stitch we're about to go into. So we're going to wrap that around. You may have to lift your eye a little bit. Let's lift that one a lot. And then we're going to go just at a 45-degree angle. So we went in here. We're just going to come back on this side, one row down, and we're going to match that on the other side. So at about a 45-degree angle on the inside of the eye. And then go around your other eye. Ah, I don't know why this is not cooperating today. And then we're going to come down where we went in on this side, but we're going to be on this side of the eye, so the inside middle, and we're going to come out where we started. There we go. Hopefully they pull together nice, because I'm having doubts here. So we're going to give that one tie, and then we're going to push our eyes down together and pull this tight at the same time. And then just wherever you feel like you want them. If you are using plush yarn, be very careful because it will break easily. And once you're happy with where they are, just give that another tie. And then we'll put that on the inside. And then we'll just put that out the back. Oh, tell me I only caught one. Oh, I took a break and maybe I shouldn't have. I think I'm just trying to get this done, and I'm it's one of those things where the faster you go, the further behind you are. And then you may have a little hole here. You can just fix that with your needle. Now this is where I would usually do the little accent under the eye in white, but because his face is white, it's not going to show up. So I'm just going to grab a scrap and show you how it's done. So all you're going to do is you're going to start by coming in on the inside of this eye here. And because there's a big hole here and I don't want the yarn to slip underneath the eye, I'm just going to grab a little piece of stitch right beside, and then I'm going to come over and match that on the outside of this eye. And you want about half of your yarn on each side. And then you can decide, do you want to go down, do you want to go up, or you could have went from here to here, wherever you want your accents. And once you've decided which way they're going, Mine are going to be going down, so I'm going to come at a 45-degree angle. Usually I do about a third of the eye, and then I'm just going to come up in the middle somewhere. And try and grab a chunk of stuffing as you're going, because you don't want to see the line of this underneath of here. And then you're going to thread on your other end. And do the same thing. So right here at a 45-degree angle, just inside the eye, and then grab some stuffing and come up where your other string came out. You want to pull this gently because you don't want to slide that string under your eye. Give it one tie. And just kind of pull it so it's tight, but it's not going to go under. And then when you're happy with where they are, you're just going to loosely tie it and slowly get tighter. And then thread your ends back on and put it out the back somewhere. And when you pull this one, you want to do it gently, again, because you don't want those ends to go under your eye. So as soon as I got that knot through, I stopped pulling. I'm going to fix that little spot with my needle. And then, again, not pulling on this end. And then if you have a piece like I do, you're just going to go in beside, take your needle, and just swoop down to get rid of that. We might as well do the little nose accent now too. So I'm just going to thread on whatever color you want to have for the outline of the little nose. And I'm going to go 2 rows up from where my starting chain was. So this is the line that I tried to fix where the holes were. So 1, 2, and I'm just going to come over on each side. Dig a bit of stuffing if you can so you won't see that thread. And I have 4 holes in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull that through so you have about the same amount on both sides. And then you're just going to find your center. So I'm going to go here. And you want to go straight down, even if you're not in a hole, because you want this line to be straight. So I'm 2 rows down. And then I'm going to come back up, go in that same hole, and then come out somewhere for tying. Pull that gently. And then you're going to thread on the other side and make the rest of your V. So in that same hole in the center, and then come out where you ended the other piece. And there we go. We got our little V with the line. I guess it's a Y. And then you're going to gently tie this over here. And then we'll thread that in and hide it inside the nose. You don't want to pull on this too hard if you can help it, because you don't want to tighten those anymore. And you may have to come back and kind of reshape your face a bit. And then you're going to cut that. Swoop that away if you need to. Because it's black, you might have to do a little bit better job. Okay, now we're going to do the ears, and again, you can start any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing a knot with the loop on the end as if I was making a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 9. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2, and 3. And repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, and our last increase, 8 and 9. Row 3, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1 single crochet for 1, 1 single crochet for 2, and 1 increase for 3 and 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12. Row 4, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 15. 1, 2, 3, and an increase, 4 and 5, and repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15. Row 5, we are going to do 15 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Row 6, 15 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Row 7, 15 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Row 8, 15 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Row 9, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12. Row 10, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that around for a total of 9. 1, 2, and a decrease for 3. And repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a last decrease for 9. Okay, and then we can pull out our stitch marker, and then we're going to go in the next stitch, and we're going to go in the very last stitch on the other side. It's going to look like this, and then we need to come down into these 2 stitches. So now it's going to look like this, and we're going to make 1 single crochet. Make sure it's folded nice and tight. And then we're going to do that in the last 2 stitches. So you're going to go into the next stitch on the end. You want to try and make sure you grab a piece of the inside of the ear. And then you're going to come up on the other stitch on the other side. And then make your other single crochet. And then you can tie off. Leave yourself enough of a tail for sewing it on. So if you have just finished your first ear, I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second ear. And if you have finished your second ear, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. Okay, now we're going to add our ears, and I'm just going to mark those off. So I'm going to be putting my pins in just under where you have those front loops. So I'm 2 rows up from the eyes. And I'm just going to use the outside of my eye to measure up. That's going to be my first hole, and I'm going to count over 6 holes, including that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is going to be the back of the ear. And grab another one, same thing. So I'm going up 2 rows, 1, 2, and using that as my first hole, I'm going to count 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to go in that 6th hole. And then if you need to, just kind of double check, look that they're even. You can always put your ears up there too. Remembering that's the back, so you'll put the back of your ear on your pin. So if you're happy with that, we'll grab our darning needle and thread that on. And we're going to come down where we have our pin and just go around that row. So I'm in the hole with the pin, and I'm going down 1 row. Get rid of that pin now. And we're going to come up into our ear, the back hole of our ear. And we're going to go into that next stitch right here. So we are in this one. We're going to go in this one and around. And then that's going to go in the front stitch of our ear. And you may need to, sometimes when you do the fold it in half, you don't get like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, see, it's not, I want it to be like this, but it's kind of like this. So I'm going to go a little bit into the ear just to pinch that. Now I'm going to go backwards. So I'm going to go in that same hole I was just in. Up the first front hole of the ear, or single crochet. Then I'm going to go back in that second hole at the back of the ear and out. Now you could tie it here and leave it if you want them to be floppy, but what I did was I kind of held my ear down, and about 3 or 4 rows down, I'm just going to tack a little stitch in there. So sorry guys. So instead of coming out of there, I would come straight down about 3 rows. I'm going to fold my ear down, just kind of position it where I want it, hold that there, and I'm just going to grab a little piece of a stitch. So it's just like this, and then put it back in, out into the middle of the back somewhere, back of the head. And to me, that just kind of keeps it in that kind of floofy, floppy down type of ear. Now let's grab the other ear. And again, remember we're in the back of the ear, going to the front. Oopsie, I almost went backwards. So I'm going to come down where that pin was and around the row. Up that second single crochet in the back. I'm coming up 1 stitch around the row, up the front of the ear, and again, remember I pinched it kind of, so instead of going in the whole, just the single crochet, I'm grabbing a bit of the ear and then going into that single crochet, so it kind of pinches it closed. And again, we're going to go backwards. So in that same hole and around the row, in the front of the ear, in that back hole, in the back of the ear, around a row. Oops, see, I forgot I was going to go down. So instead of coming out like before, 3 rows down, straight down. This is only if you're tacking your ear down. And don't worry about up here, that's going to be covered by hair, so I just want to make sure I know where I want that little piece of thread to be pinched. Just grab a piece of a stitch and then go in. Oh, I better do it in 2 steps. And then back out to the middle to match up that other string. And then like we did the arms, if you want, you can just tie these, or you can do one loose tie, flip it around, and you can pull those little sides in if you want. I don't think the sheep really needs it. Okay, and then just tie those tight. Thread them out. Whoops. The back somewhere. Give them a cut. All right. Cute. All right, now we are going to start attaching the wool, and you can attach yours any way you want, but do leave yourself a bit of a tail, because we're going to use our beginning tail and our end tail to tie at the end. So I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end, and I want my loop to be just big enough to get my hook in. And we're going to be going in all of the front loops all the way around in our wool color. So this is my very first single crochet front loop. And if you can't find yours, an easy way to do that is to just kind of follow your spiral all the way around until you get to the last one. So we're going to insert our hook in that first front loop. Attach your yarn, and I'm just letting this end hang, and we're going to chain 1. Now I'm going to do a single crochet in that same front loop, and then I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go into that next front loop and do a single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go in that next front loop, single crochet, and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go into that next single. I'm going to drop this guy here. That next single crochet front loop, single crochet, chain 4. Whoop, sorry, I can't. 2, 3, 4, and then single crochet in that next front loop. So it's going to start out looking like this, but as you get more going around, it's all going to clump up together. Excuse me. And then it's going to look like this. So you're just going to be going around and around and around and around until you get to here, when you get to your last stitch of your wool color. And then you're going to put your tail that you have up here down into the center. You're going to bring it out here where your last single crochet will be. Give it a tie and then hide it inside. Then you're going to do the exact same thing when you do the body. So you go around and around and around, and then I did not go into the bottom. That's why I ended my front loops in front of my legs. And then you'll tie your top end string to your bottom end string and hide them out the back. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to finish putting on all your wool, top and bottom. As of right now, this is the last guy in my farm animal series. I just want to mention, if you stay until the very end of the video, I always put 4 little videos in the corners that I think might interest you. So I'll have 4 of the other farm animals there if you need a quick link to get to them. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed my video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends.